We pretty much navigate our entire lives operating on this very fundamental, unquestioned assumption. Like what we see in the mirror is who we are.
Right, that physical anchoring.
Yeah, exactly. We curate our physical appearance. We stress over our bank accounts. We obsess over physical health, social status.
The clothes we wear, the cars we drive.
All of it. It is an incredibly tangible, heavy existence. The world basically demands that we identify completely with the physical space we occupy.
Well, that physical anchoring is the default human condition. I mean, because the material world is what we can measure and touch, it naturally becomes the absolute limit of our perceived reality.
Right.
The mind just latches on to the tangible as the definition of existence. It's safe.
But today's source material asks you to completely sever that tie. Our mission for this deep dive is to explore translated excerpts from a really profound spiritual text. It's titled The Path of Soul Consciousness and Divine Realization.
It's a fascinating read.
It really is. And we're going to unpack a radical shift in perspective that's presented in these pages. The text demands we stop identifying with our physical bodies entirely and instead recognize ourselves as a literal point of light.
It is a conceptually demanding text, for sure. The overarching premise is framed not as some dry philosophical treatise, but as a direct, intimate communication.
Yeah, the tone is very specific.
It is. The speaker is identified as the Supreme Father, and he's addressing his followers as his sweet children. And the core objective of this communication is to offer a deliberate pathway out of what the text categorizes as an impure world.
An impure world.
Exactly. The method for that escape relies entirely on two intersecting mechanisms. First, a profound self-realization, and then that's followed by God-realization.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the very first hurdle this text throws at us requires redefining our entire concept of identity. The text draws a massive, impenetrable line between being body-conscious and being soul-conscious.
Yes. It states explicitly that prior to encountering this knowledge, humanity is fundamentally trapped in that state of body consciousness.
Right.
The error is believing the physical form constitutes the self. The instruction here is to look past the physical apparatus entirely. It demands that you view yourself not as a body that possesses a soul, but strictly as a point of light.
A point of light.
Which is its precise definition of the soul.
It strips away every defining physical characteristic we use to navigate society. But the text doesn't just say this point of light is like an empty battery spark.
No, not at all.
It says this soul is the actual container for our sanskars, which are our deep impressions, our tendencies, our core personality traits.
So where everything is stored.
Right. Every habit, every deeply ingrained reaction lives inside this formless point, not in the physical brain tissue.
Yeah.
Which fundamentally changes how we think about human behavior.
How so?
Well, I was thinking about it like this. It's like looking at a computer. We spend all our time obsessing over the monitor and the keyboard, right? Like polishing the screen, fixing the keys.
The physical body.
Exactly, the physical body. But this text is telling us that our true self, our sanskars, are actually the data stored on the hidden hard drive. The soul is the hard drive. All the worldly drama is just what's popping up on the monitor.
What's fascinating here is how perfectly that analogy captures the mechanics the text is outlining. By relocating your sense of self away from the temporary hardware of the monitor and into that hidden hard drive, that point of light, you fundamentally alter your relationship with physical reality.
Because you aren't the screen anymore.
Exactly. The text suggests that this specific relocation of the self is the only way to successfully detach from worldly anxieties. If your true self is a formless point storing deep impressions, then the inevitable physical decay of the body.
Or, a cracked monitor screen.
Right, or even the temporary socioeconomic struggles of the physical world, they just lose their absolute authority over your state of mind. The text posits that making this shift from body conscious to soul conscious is the singular key to bringing the truth of life into focus.
But man, the psychological weight of actually dropping that physical identity would be immense. I mean, you aren't just letting go of your ego. You are letting go of the entire framework of how the world judges your worth.
It's a total paradigm shift.
It is. But once the text establishes what the soul is, this point of light, this hard drive of sanskars, it immediately moves into how this soul connects to the divine to become pure. Because the source material repeatedly characterizes our current environment as an impure world.
With the ultimate destination being a pure world, yes. And this transition introduces the central figure of the source material. He's referred to as Shiv Baba, or the Supreme Father.
Right.
And the text designates him specifically as the purifier of the impure.
And the mechanism it lays out for this purification is, it's where I started to hit a wall during my reading, honestly. The instruction from the Supreme Father is incredibly stark. He just says, remember me.
Remember me.
That is the directive. The text claims that the mere act of remembering him is the specific mechanism that destroys vikarma.
Which it translates as bad karma or accumulated sins.
Right. Hey, wait, so if this Supreme Father is totally formless and never takes rebirth, meaning there's no physical avatar to interact with, no face-to-picture, no historical narrative to latch onto, how does a human mind actually connect with that?
It's a huge question.
I mean, just the abstract act of remembering a formless entity is enough to hit the delete key on all our bad karma.
Yeah.
It feels like trying to hug a concept, you know? The human brain isn't really wired to form emotional attachments to a formless void.
Well, the text actually anticipates that exact cognitive friction. It doesn't ask for an emotional or visual connection because, as you noted, that relies on physical reference points.
Right, which we're supposed to be abandoning.
Exactly. Instead, it advocates for a practice termed Buddha yoga. This translates to a yoga or a connection of the intellect. It requires forcing the mind into an intellectual alignment rather than searching for like a sensory or emotional bond.
A connection purely through the intellect. So we are bypassing the heart and the physical senses entirely.
That is the intended pathway. The insistence on God being completely formless and outside the cycle of rebirth is the critical linchpin of how this purification mechanism operates.
How does being formless actually do the purifying, though?
Think of the cycle of karma as a closed thermodynamic system. Every physical action causes a reaction, tying souls down into the dense, impure world. If God had a form, or if he took rebirth into a physical avatar, he would inherently become a part of that closed karmic system.
He'd be trapped in it with us.
Precisely. He would be subject to the gravity of the physical world. By remaining completely formless and never taking birth, he exists as the only variable entirely outside the physical karmic web.
Oh, wow.
So when you use Buddha yoga, your intellect, to connect to him, you are connecting your soul to an external reference point. That tether to the formless is what pulls the soul above the physical karmic cycle, effectively bunning away the karma.
So it serves as the ultimate anchor. If you are drowning in a stormy ocean, tying your rope to another boat doesn't guarantee your safety if that boat is getting tossed by the same waves.
Exactly. You have to tie your rope to the shore.
And formlessness is the shore. Because he is not weighed down by the physical world, mentally grabbing onto him is the only leverage that can pull us out. That makes the formless aspect not just a theological quirk, but the indispensable tool of rescue.
It's a highly functional explanation for spiritual liberation. Once you accept you're a point of light, you use your intellect to establish a direct link to the supreme, untainted point of light.
It creates an upward trajectory.
Exactly.
But sustaining that intellectual link to something formless must be exhausting. I mean, you still have to wake up, go to work, pay taxes, interact with a hyperphysical society. How does a normal person actually maintain an intellectual connection to the formless on a Tuesday morning while sitting in traffic?
That level of sustained mental friction seems impossible to hold in isolation, and the text acknowledges that. Sustaining this level of soul consciousness in an impure world is virtually impossible for an individual on their own.
So what's the solution?
The Father's stated mission is to guide souls from this impure or degraded world to a pure world. And to facilitate this, the text introduces a highly specialized collective, referring to it as the Brahmin clan.
The Brahmin clan.
Yes. The text claims this specific understanding of the soul and this direct method of connection to the Father is currently exclusive to this clan, to whom the Father has directly imparted these concepts.
Here's where it gets really interesting. When a modern reader sees the phrase Brahmin clan, the immediate association is the traditional physical caste system in India, right, based on birth and genetics.
Right, which is entirely physical.
Exactly. But based on the rigorous dismantling of physical identities we've just analyzed, the total rejection of the body, this Brahmin clan cannot possibly be a physical caste.
It would contradict the entire premise.
It really would. It sounds much more like an inner circle, you know? A group of people who have been handed a secret map that shows the exit route out of a burning, polluted city. It is a clan built on shared knowledge, not shared DNA.
I completely agree. If we connect this to the bigger picture, that interpretation aligns directly with the text's internal logic. The source is systematically breaking down all physical hierarchies to elevate spiritual realization.
So the clan is basically a support structure.
That's exactly what it is. The Brahmin clan functions as the necessary support structure for those attempting to maintain the formless connection. It provides an alternative gravity.
Because the physical world is always pulling at you.
Yes. When the physical world tries to pull the practitioner back into body consciousness, the clan reinforces the reality of this secret map. And this exclusivity serves a massive psychological function, particularly regarding the text's view of mortality.
Oh, right. There's a very poignant moment in the translation where it references a song lyric. It says, "He will not be separated from us."
That lyric acts as a profound emotional anchor for this community. It encapsulates their unwavering belief that the followers will eventually shed their physical forms and literally accompany the Father to the pure world.
It totally changes how you look at the end of life.
Completely. Consider the pervasive human fear of death, which is the ultimate anxiety stemming from body consciousness. If you believe you are the physical body, death represents total annihilation.
The ultimate end of the hard drive getting smashed.
But for this specific clan holding this secret map, the concept of physical death undergoes a radical reframing. It ceases to be a terrifying end. It is redefined as the long-awaited departure.
Wow.
It is the realization of the song. It's the moment the point of light leaves the decaying physical vessel to return with the Supreme Father. It takes the greatest existential terror humanity faces and transmutes it into a moment of ultimate liberation.
The anxiety of mortality simply evaporates. If you truly internalize that framework, death becomes a doorway rather than a brick wall.
Exactly.
But the text doesn't allow these followers to just sit around serenely waiting for this departure. This is where the material pivots from grand cosmic theology into demanding daily pragmatism. It gives them actual rigorous homework.
The final directives of the text are deeply practical. It outlines a strict daily protocol necessary to maintain the state of soul consciousness.
Yeah, the text introduces a directive called churning the ocean of thoughts. The term provided is vichar sagar manthan. It explicitly mandates that this practice must occur every single morning.
It's non-negotiable.
Right. And the steps are methodical. Followers must take detailed notes on the Father's knowledge, process it, and then actively share and explain it to others. The text promises that by recognizing oneself as a soul and executing this daily practice, you claim the true inheritance of heaven with the Father.
The inheritance of heaven, yes.
So what does this all mean for the listener's daily routine? The phrase churning the ocean of thoughts is poetic, but it implies a level of aggressive mental labor. Is this basically an ancient metaphor for active, rigorous meditation rather than just passively listening to a sermon?
That is exactly the point. The metaphor of churning is entirely intentional and points to that exact mental labor. Think about the physical act of churning milk to make butter.
It's exhausting.
It requires continuous, rigorous, and often exhausting physical effort. It relies on friction and agitation to separate the valuable essence from the liquid. The text is using this physical reality to explain a mental necessity.
So you can't just let the spiritual concepts wash over you like background music.
No, mere passive consumption of knowledge, simply hearing the words, is insufficient to counteract the overwhelming gravity of body consciousness. The knowledge must be subjected to intense intellectual friction.
Taking notes forces the mind to translate abstract, formless concepts into structured language.
Right, and explaining the material and sharing it with others forces the practitioner to test the integrity of their own understanding. They have to articulate the map to the exit clearly enough for someone else to follow it.
So it's an active defense mechanism against slipping back into physical habits.
Yes. This daily intellectual and spiritual labor, the churning, is the required maintenance protocol. Without it, the default state of the physical world will quickly pull the point of light back into the illusion of the monitor and the keyboard.
The daily static of the physical world is constantly trying to overwrite the data. If you stop the act of churning, you don't just stay in place, you actively drift back downstream into the impure world.
And this rigorous morning routine is framed not merely as a suggestion, but as the absolute prerequisite for achieving the ultimate goal. The inheritance of heaven is not passively bestowed upon the believer, it is actively claimed.
Claimed through that daily churning.
Exactly. It is a system that demands constant participation.
It is a remarkably cohesive, holistic system of thought. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground in this deep dive. Let's trace the causal chain we've mapped out today for everyone listening.
Good idea.
We started the journey with a radical demand to redefine our core identity, to abandon the mirror and realize we are a hidden hard drive. We are a formless point of light, storing our deep sanskars, shaving the physical reality around us rather than being defined by it.
And from that foundational shift, we looked at the mechanics of purification. The practitioner must utilize Buddha Yoga, the yoga of the intellect, to connect their point of light to the formless Supreme Father.
Because Shiv Baba remains entirely outside the cycle of physical rebirth.
Right. He acts as the immovable anchor on the shore, allowing the intellect to pull the soul out of the karmic web and destroy accumulated vikarma.
And then we examine the necessary sociological framework required to sustain this connection, the Brahmin clan. Not a physical caste, but an inner circle of shared knowledge. A secret map that completely reframes the terror of death into a beautiful song of departure toward a pure world.
And finally, we unpacked the pragmatic engine that keeps this entire system running. Vichar Sogarmanthan.
The churning.
Yes, the daily, rigorous churning of the mind through note-taking and teaching. It proves that this liberation is earned through intellectual friction, not passive belief.
It is a profound demonstration of the psychological armor that can be forged when looking at life through a radically non-physical lens. The text systematically challenges the very foundation of how we normally assign value and identity.
Which leaves us with a critical implication to consider. We expend a massive percentage of our daily cognitive energy optimizing our physical existence. We curate our appearance, defend our social status, try to maximize our bodily comforts.
It's basically a full-time job.
It is.
No.
But consider this. If the fundamental premise of this text holds true, and all of that effort is merely body consciousness anchoring us deeper into an impure world, what would happen to your daily anxieties if, starting tomorrow morning, you navigated the world strictly as a point of light observing a temporary physical experience?
Wow.
If you viewed every interaction not as a clash of physical bodies and egos, but as an exchange between formless entities carrying deep impressions, how would that alter the way you interact with the people around you?
That is a phenomenal lens to apply to your morning commute. If the physical reality is just the monitor and the keyboard, how much of our daily outrage and anxiety is just yelling at the screen?
That's a great way to put it.
Thank you so much for taking the time to journey with us into such a demanding and thought-provoking text. We hope this deep dive provided the necessary friction to spark some profound churning in your own ocean of thoughts today. Keep questioning the default settings, keep pulling at the threads of your own reality, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.